It's Accountex 2023. We are in London. I'm thrilled to have with me today from Citrus HR, it's Rachel Wood. Hello to you.
Hello, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you all.
It's great to meet you too. We are broadcasting live on YouTube and LinkedIn and on our podcast. So, Rachel, is this your first Accountex or you're a veteran of these?
Neither. It's my second. So I was here last year. So come again. It's a brilliant event, isn't it?
Why is it brilliant?
I just think it's one of the few events where there's a real mix of people, there's a real mix of types of companies, some great conversations. It would be perfect if it wasn't so hot in here.
It is warm, and we're in our wonderful broadcasting booth, but we're trying to keep the air going.
It's good.
Citrus HR, what's that all about, Rachel?
Okay, so Citrus HR started as, and our primary focus has always been a HR service and HR software for small businesses. And quite a few years ago, what we decided to do was branch that out into kind of the accountancy world, really, because they're the trusted advisors. Everybody goes to them. All the small businesses are asking them all sorts of questions. And actually what we do is offer our service to accountancy firms as an added on for their customers. So we work in partnerships with hundreds of accountancy firms, basically offering our services to their customers and preventing them having to deal with those questions and get all the information they need.
Well, you say all of those questions. It is a minefield what comes under human resources these days. So that must be a godsend to accountants to be able to rely on you as that resource.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And I think it's everything from contracts and policies. I was chatting to somebody recently who was saying that they had been asked by one of their customers to do a contract for them, an employment contract. They didn't want to do it. It's not their realm, right? They're accountants, so that's not what they're looking to do. So they quoted astronomical fees, thinking that they wouldn't get the business, so they didn't have to do it, but then they did. Then the customer was so desperate. But actually, so taking that off their plates and having somebody that they can go, can you just do that for us, please? And somebody to answer all of those questions and deal directly with them or the customer has worked really, really well for them.
So what brings you here? Are you doing a speaking session or are you just networking? Or?
A bit of both. I was speaking this morning, so I was on the App Advisory Plus stage talking about the kind of move from payroll over to HR, so that how they intertwine and what accountants can do on that front. And and networking and meeting up with a lot of our partners, which is always really nice. Nice to see people in person, isn't it?
Definitely, yes. We've done too many Zooms.
I know. I'm so fed up of it.
What kind of questions have you been asking to get a sense for what's happening out there?
That's a really good question. So we have been asking kind of what's happening with business, how are their customers finding the current economy as well. It's a lot of the people we're speaking to are finding that things are quite quiet at the moment for them in different ways, not that there's no interest, but people are afraid to spend money right now. And so we've been asking what people have been doing to kind of get around that and the kind of conversations they've been having with people and what's working for them and what isn't as well, because I think knowing that information allows us to do that hard work for them on our end. And so that's the kind of thing, conversations.
And as HR specialists, what questions have people been asking you?
Wow, so lots of questions around contracts. Lots and lots of situations.
So the legal side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the benefits with us is we have in-house employment law specialists, which is brilliant because it's a minefield, right? It's just, there's so much that you need to know. And I am by no means an employment law specialist. But so lots of questions about contracts, either they didn't have them, if they've just had a kind of like gentleman's agreement, so to speak. So lots of things around there. Employment tribunals, so they're seeing a big increase in that as well. There's a lot more in the news about that. And sadly, because of the economy, redundancies as well. So lots of questions about redundancies and where people stand with that.
Well, we hear about the Great Resignation. People seem to be moving around a lot. So job specs are changing, roles are changing, hybrid working conditions are changing. There's so much going on, and it's a tough ask for businesses and accounting firms to deal with all of the ramifications of that.
Absolutely, and we're finding over the past 6 months especially, lots of people are expecting much bigger pay rises because of the cost of living than they would have had previously. And, it's very easy, I think, for an employee to forget that business rates have gone up and insurances have gone up and everything's risen. So you've got small businesses who have got massively increasing costs, and then they've got staff who are saying, well, you need to pay me X amount more, and they can't physically do it, right? So it's unrealistic. So that's why I think it's easier. It's the age-old thing, isn't it? If you can get a higher salary if you move elsewhere often than you can staying where you are. So So I think that's still happening quite a lot. But I know that there's been a change recently in recruitment, hasn't there, where I'm saying this on a podcast and saying don't quote me, but I think that unemployment has jumped quite considerably. But I think, we're seeing still a lot of jobs on the market and a lot of people are recruiting. So hopefully it's pretty good out there for people.
Talk to us about the mental side of HR. We hear a lot about mental well-being, mental resilience, mental health.
Yeah.
That's all in play, isn't it, Rachel?
Absolutely, yes, yeah. And we're talking a lot. In fact, next week is Mental Health Awareness Week.
Right.
So, and I think the theme is anxiety. So we're talking a lot about that at the moment, and the impacts that has on individuals, on businesses, and the wider ramifications of that. I think it is something that certainly in the past couple of years we've become so much more aware of it. It's becoming much less of a taboo to talk about.
It's more acceptable, isn't it?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and rightly so. It's something that I think we should be talking about a lot more. And one of our partners, actually Gordon from Armadillo, is doing a piece on mental health later. And what we were talking about with him was, there's a lot of talk around reducing stress. So how can you deal with people who are dealing with anxiety and stress? But actually, maybe what we should be talking about is how to stop it in the first place. How can we help prevent that from happen? Prevention rather than cure. But it's easier said than done, obviously, in a lot of situations. So it's just dealing with that appropriately, I think, from a HR perspective.
Why are we talking about it more now? Are we less mentally resilient than we were? Are we weaker, or are we just facing more pressures these days?
Wow, that's a big question.
Are we just more woke, Rachel,
well,
and more sensitive to it?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think, everybody will have differing opinions of that, but I think that we are facing more pressures, especially right now. We've had the perfect storm of Brexit, COVID, the Great Resignation, cost of living crisis. There's a lot happening.
Yeah.
But I think personally, the problem was always there. But we didn't talk about it because it wasn't socially acceptable to talk about it. People weren't comfortable having those discussions. They felt like they'd be judged. They couldn't discuss it at work. They couldn't tell their managers. So I don't know, and I don't know the stats, I'm sure somebody does, but whether or not that problem's grown. But I kind of feel like it was probably always there. We just now are more open about it and people are more willing to discuss it. So we're seeing more of it in the day-to-day.
Yeah. What are your plans for Citrus HR? Is it global domination or a lifestyle business, or do you just want to change more lives, or what's the plan?
So one of the things that our real mission and vision is about making these wonderful things, these great services accessible for small businesses. We want to keep doing that. We live and breathe small businesses. We absolutely love it. We're one ourselves.
They're the lifeblood of business, aren't they?
Absolutely.
In the economy.
And I think quite often in the SaaS world, they get forgotten a little bit, or it's outpriced for them and it's not accessible for them. So that's always been something for us. I think we thrive on great feedback, on our customers loving what they get from us and the help that we give. And that's what we want to keep doing. I mean, there's growth. I mean, what business doesn't want to grow? Not quite looking at world domination yet. Ask me again in a couple of years.
Yes. And finally, what excites you most about what's coming up for you in your world?
I think just the opportunities of people branching out. So especially being in a situation like this, businesses are looking at those added value services. They are having those discussions with other people. They're looking outside of the regular scope of what they offer. And I think that's a really exciting opportunity. And it's something that we do as well. And it's something a lot of our customers do. And I think that ability to reach a much wider audience and have a positive impact on so many other people that we may not have otherwise been able to reach is what's really exciting right now.
And accountants need partners like you, don't they, to serve their client base, their small businesses?
Absolutely, and that's what we do. And I'm here actually at the moment with our partnership, Accountex, and she has met up with a lot of our partners, and we've been having some really good discussions with them. And it's exactly that, taking that load off them, taking it off them, it's making their life easier, and it's giving their customers what they need. And we really thrive on that. We love that kind of feeling of we've helped you, this is fantastic. So yeah, more of that.
Well, you're very passionate about this, and it sounds like a crusade. So Richard Wood from Citrus HR, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me. Thanks.